Hey, warriors, what's up? And wake up. Let's talk about what's going to help wake us up to the truths, as I'm always talking about on this podcast, on the Cleanse, Heal, Ignite podcast, Doc Talk with Dr. Diane Kaiser. And this is Warrior Wednesday, where we're going to go into the Cleanse, Heal, Ignite strategies that people are forgetting when they start their GLP injections, and so much more. Because I know for many of you who are listening, it's not just about weight loss. It's about energy gain. It's about brain clarity. It's about reducing body pain. And this is what I'm seeing right now is a severe amount of negligence with people taking GLPs. And I'm not just talking about the ones that are prescribed, like Ozempic and Mounjaro and Wegovy. I'm talking about those of you who are listening to my podcast, or maybe even, unfortunately, the crazy influencers that are asking everybody to jump on the GLP train. So first of all, we all make GLPs in our gut. We all were made this way. And every time I talk about anything that I might recommend, and this is, by the way, not medical advice. I'm not an MD, first of all. I am a doctor of traditional naturopathy, board certified. But I'm here to ask the question, why is your body not making GLPs like it used to? Why have GLPs become like a dinosaur, which I don't believe ever existed, the way that they tell us anyway? Why are they more extinct? They're not extinct, otherwise we wouldn't be alive. But why are they so low? It's kind of like if we're looking at where to find organic foods anymore, that's almost gone extinct, because we find that all of the organic produce is pretty much exposed to or sprayed from the neighboring GMO farms, pesticides, herbicides. So it's hard to find anything that's purely organic anymore. In the same sense, it's hard to find a body that is making its own GLPs anymore. Glucagon, like protein, peptide, these are the things that we need, not just for a healthy diet and to keep our body using fat for fuel, but it's important for your brain health. It's important for neurotransmitter production. It's important just for general cell signaling. It's important for regulating mood. It's important for your nervous system and to clear pathogens and poisons from the body. So it's not just a weight loss drug. And screw you, Oprah, for lying to my people that there is such thing as an obesity gene. Genetics are not our destiny. It's 2 to 5% of the whole big picture. I like to focus on, and am passionate and obsessed about focusing on, the root causes that are tweaking your genes. This is called epigenetics. These would be the poisons, the pathogens, the programming, all the things that have an impact on signaling to your genes to activate or deactivate. What we want to do here is to activate, reactivate your healthy genes, your good genes. And we want to deactivate the bad genes. So we need to focus on epigenetics. That's what we do here. And I'm going to talk about this today. This is for everyone, because GLPs are not just something for helping you lose weight. And there's a lot of people who are doing it not only incorrectly, and I'm not trying to shame you, but wrong. We need to focus on the big picture here, because many people are doing GLPs wrong. Even despite the many podcasts that I've done in the VIP group with patients, when people become a patient, they get it more because they're doing advanced lab analysis with us, advanced deep dive markers, looking at blood tests, where the average medical doctor is looking at 15% of the markers that we look at with advanced blood analysis. So before you take any peptides, I highly recommend working with a doctor who's going to look at the big picture of your blood analysis, not just the 15% that MDs are looking at, contrary to what we look at, which is 85% of that 100% picture. So we're looking at about 5 times more markers, if not 6 times more markers, before anybody goes on a peptide or any kind of protocol for that matter. So I want to get into it today. Because it's important to look at toxic burden. It's important to look at your GI labs. I'm going to talk about some of these things that actually show you some real life stool analysis of our patients, indicating why they might not be making healthy levels of GLPs. So this is a very slippery slope, just taking a GLP and doing it the wrong way, which I'm going to go over the majority of GLP's gone wrong on this podcast today. And I'm going to go over GLP's gone right. But specifically, before you even consider a GLP injection, you need to be looking at the reason why your body has stopped making an abundant level of them in the first place, or else you are going to have potentially a long-term outcome of health consequences and issues that could be permanent to your body that you don't want. So let's go over the outline for today. So looking first at weight loss resistance, low energy, metabolic burnout. Those are not a willpower issue, you guys. So I hear a lot of people saying, oh, it's just about willpower, eating healthy foods. People gain weight and are over fat or obese because they have an issue with keeping their food cravings at bay. It is a cell signaling issue. It is not a willpower issue. So in this episode, I want to talk about why GLP production in the gut has quietly collapsed, because that's where you make GLPs abundantly, is in your gut. Why weight loss resistance is not a personal failure, nor is the myth of any obesity gene, like I mentioned already. Who do you guys think sponsors her media clips? I didn't watch the Super Bowl because I never do, because I know they're all rigged for entertainment favor. And by the way, did you guys know that the NFL has not paid taxes for close to 100 years? They're just like Disney. So where's all this taxpayer money going that's being funneled outside of the country to fund wars and our illness? It's funded by you, the listener. This is important to understand because they're making billions of dollars off of the looting that is watching Super Bowl. I'm not saying don't do things to entertain you, but if you look at the programming, the literal programming of those TV shows, you're going to see, I think there was a large percentage of the ads on the Super Bowl Sunday were all around GLPs. The programming. We now have 12% of the population on GLPs. When I first started talking about GLPs like Ozempic, we were close to 5 to 6% of the population, and 12% was interested. But now we have 12% of the population that is taking GLPs. Not good. I'm not saying that all GLPs are bad, but I'm saying your own endogenously made GLPs are ideal and optimal, and this is where we're moving toward extinction. We're moving toward an extinction of GLP production, because the more you get it from the outside, the more your body doesn't need to make it on the inside, because it's like, I don't need to make it because we're getting it from the outside. Then when you stop getting, taking GLPs in the outside, even in microdoses, what we've found and the consequences of that we talked about in the last couple of podcasts is that people who get off GLPs gain weight 4 times more and faster than people who were simply dieting alone. What does that tell us? That diet has always been the predictor of how well your body is going to either take care of you or attack you. And so this conversation ideally will permanently change how you think about weight loss and energy and metabolism, because when these systems work optimally, everything works better. The reason why you gain weight is because your metabolic engine signals, communicators in the body are not working optimally. I'm going to show you guys some of the images of real life patients that we work with today. And these were patients that never had anybody look at these things or these patterns on blood work. And it's not just about labs, you guys. It's about the practitioner who was trained to look at it and interpret it correctly and look at it for root causation. Your MD has not been trained to look for root causation, you guys. They never will. I'll always say this: once you understand the 2 most profitable industries in the world is war and illness, you will understand who to trust. Your MD is programmed to keep you sick, stuck, and symptomatic. Because why? That makes you a customer for life. That annuitizes their paycheck, and that annuitizes the drug industry's profit. You get it? So when we're programmed, and if you're still programmed to go talk to your MD when you're sick and suffering and stuck, you are still in a illusion farm and an illusion that these MDs have your best interest at mind. They don't. They have your greatest illness programmed into them. There is a certain small percentage of doctors and dentists that woke up during COVID and went, wait a minute, this whole industry, my whole programming, my whole education has all been duped. to keep my patient sick, and I don't want that. And they learned from COVID that they wanted patients even more sick by taking the jabs. That leads people to furthering of zero immunity. And GLPs done wrong can do the same thing. So when you do this right, and when you become your own doctor, when you become your own healer, and you start taking your health into your own hands, you can then move toward an understanding of what constitutes healthy GLP production, healthy cell signaling, healthy peptide production, and a healthy, when we're looking at the organs and your body as a whole, what is your main immune system? It is your thymus gland, and it is in your gut, and it is the healthy microbes that are being produced in the gut. What's being produced in the gut? Your healthy microbes are not just for a healthy gut, a healthy immune system that's signaled by the gut. It's also everything else, your energy, your vitality, your beauty, your energy, every single thing, your metabolic health. So when we have healthy microbes, it can cell signal to make more GLPs. It could cell signal to produce a healthy immune system. So when you look at zero immunity, we're also seeing that when people are taking GLPs from exogenously, it's moving toward zero GLP, zero immunity, which means obesity, which means autoimmunity, which means cancer. Those are the big money makers, you guys. The moment that you start seeing that there's higher incidences of cancer, like we've talked about, higher incidences of autoimmune disease, you start going, wait a minute, why do I keep going to my doctor when we are spending more money than any country in the world on research and development toward chronic disease, yet we are sicker and sicker? You have to ask yourself the question, why do I still go back to the same industry that's responsible for the negligence of not showing me why we are getting these diseases? So just a reminder, that the reason why you might be feeling like you are doing all the right things and still feel stuck, this podcast hopefully will land for you, because GLP is definitely something that we do not want to take lightly. It may help restore balance, what it does in the body, by supporting your nervous system regulation, improving gut integrity and metabolic signaling, reducing inflammatory interference, which could also mean getting rid of things like Crohn's disease, IBS, IBD, colon cancer. It also enhances mitochondrial efficiency, which is why some people taking GLPs are like, I have so much more energy. But why are we not making our own? GLPs also are important for stabilizing blood sugar and energy. So other people we're hearing in our patient practice, more stable energy over time, clearer thinking and calmer mood, improved metabolic flexibility, weight loss that finally makes sense. So let's talk about, first of all, I'll always say this too. If you're on GLP peptides, you should not be doing that alone. It should be only used through a licensed medical provider. I have to say that. However, if you're taking peptides that we can also get to you through our partners, you can work with a doctor like myself. How? Because we're looking at, if you at some point achieve your goal, when you achieve your goal of weight loss, metabolic, cell signaling, energy, healthy mood, healthy appetite, all of it, healthy sleep, then we want to get you off the GLPs, because we want your body to simultaneously, while you're taking GLPs, be consuming the healthy foods, taking the healthy microbes, exercising, so that your body can do it again, make healthy GLPs again. So that when you get off of the GLPs, you're not one of those cohorts that is gaining weight 4 times faster or 4 times more than dieters alone. Okay. So this is all responsibility that's in your own hands. All right. I want to show you something, and I want to show you, this is a Facebook clip. Somebody who's actually been focused on the microbes and researching gut health, researching what terrain health looks like. And I've known him for over 10 years. I've learned a lot from him. And when you understand that your microbes are significantly important to GLP signaling, this is going to change your mind about whether or not you take an antibiotic, because antibiotics will disrupt, kill, and possibly completely exonerate these healthy microbes that may never come back. They're making your healthy microbes, the ones that are responsible for GLP production, extinct. So let's take a listen to this clip.
potential side effects of that beneficial enough to be able to take the drug, right? So if you want to lose 15 to 20 pounds, I would say there's diminishing returns in doing it. But if you need to lose 100 pounds, then likely it's a good solution for you. So GLP-1s are mimicking a natural process that occurs in our gut. This natural process is actually driven by beneficial bacteria and the consumption of fiber. So fiber, for example, in your diet does very similar things that GLP-1s do. So GLP-1s are these compounds, these peptides, if you will, that are released by cells in your lining of your gut called M cells. They release this peptide called glucagon-like peptide. That's why it's called GLP. And then they bind to a receptor. When they bind to the receptor, and the receptor is also in the lining of your gut, it triggers this cascade of events that upregulates satiety hormones. It slows down your transit time in your bowel, so the food sits in there a little bit longer, so you feel full more quicker. It also slows down the amount of sugar that you're absorbing, so the sugar curve after your meal, what we call postprandial insulin response or glucose response, is blunted to a certain degree. And there may be some anti-inflammatory effects as well, right? A big difference, and this is where the big difference comes in from how your natural GLP-1 works and how the synthetic versions work. Your natural GLP-1s, when your M cells release them, they come out, they bind to the receptor for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then they set off this cascade of events that controls your satiety hormones and all of that, which is all good for you. Synthetic versions sit on your receptor for 6 to 7 days, right? So it's continuously turning on that switch. So this drives people to not want to eat. This could drive the bowels to completely slow down, if not stop. One of the side effects is that permanent constipation.
For the rest of your life?
For the rest of your life, that's not reversible. There's issues of fat absorption and an increased risk in pancreatitis or liver dysfunction, because you're taking what is a really important natural mechanism and you're just amplifying it, 1,000-fold, right? That receptor, that peptide sitting on that receptor for 7 days is a vast difference than it's sitting on there for 2 or 3 minutes, right? Okay. So that's where things start to fall apart. And that's where you really have to make the choice. Like, what is the benefit of what the GLP is going to do? It's going to control your insulin resistance. But is the potential...
Yeah, so that one started a little bit toward the end of that video and we started over, but that is right there. I'm going to reiterate and paraphrase again what he said. So your own natural GLPs that are theoretically, when in a healthy patient, they are produced by your gut microbes. And if you don't have healthy levels of these gut microbes, then you're not making as many of them. And hence we have the problem of obesity, overweight, and all the other symptoms that I mentioned earlier that are the outcome of when you're producing GLPs on your own. Your own natural GLPs sit at your cellular receptor site for 2 to 3 minutes. The synthetic versions, even the ones that you're getting rid of, TrueTide, everything through us, they sit for 6 to 7 days. So it is continuously slowing down your bowels. And this is where people are saying, okay, well, if it's slowing down my transit time and my excretion of the waste or the digestive, the food that you're ideally digesting in your gut. And I'm going to show you guys some real life examples of patients who have major pancreas issues, major digestive deficiencies in the stool test that we ran on them, and they're struggling with weight issues, right? These could be possible permanent issues when you're taking synthetic versions for too long or not addressing the terrain, which is what we talk about in the Warrior Cleanse. So it could lead to irreversible constipation or liver dysfunction or pancreatitis because it's slowing gastric emptying, but that's a lot different. Those synthetic version GLPs sit at your receptor site for 6 to 7 days versus your own endogenously created 2 to 3 minutes. That's a lot. That 2 minutes versus how many minutes, Paula, are in 7 days? How many minutes are in 7 days? And what is the multiple of that? That's and maybe you could put that in the chat or even come on and let me know. What is the number? How many minutes are in 7 days and how many more times longer are your own or synthetic versions of GLPs sitting on your receptor sites versus natural GLPs? Okay, that's huge. So I think that there's a difference if you're somebody like really needing to lose 100 pounds or more versus needing to lose 15 or 20 pounds. The last 15 to 20 pounds, people find it's very difficult to achieve that. And they're like, I'm at the end of my weight loss journey, and I'm just going to take some GLPs for that last 15 to 20 pounds. But are the drawbacks and the potential outcomes that could lead to permanent constipation really worth it when some extra hard work can be the reason that could help you lose that 15 to 20 pounds? I take a more conservative approach. I tell people, and I'll say this again, you should not be taking a GLP if you are not focusing on the terrain. What is the solution that can help you with that? Well, I'll talk about some of them today, but I will say that I have had a course called the Warrior Cleanse for over 10 years, and it is very successful. That is the terrain solution that I have created many, many years ago because I saw that everybody needed some of the same messaging. We needed to be eating more fast food, which stands for ferments, antioxidant, superfoods, and toxin binders. We need to be focusing on that. Those are the builders. We need to be focusing also on the blockers. What are the blocking factors that prevent you from making healthy GLP-1s and everything else in your body, like enzymes and bile and stomach acid and minerals and hormones and nutrients and vitamins and peptides? That would be needing to remove this shit in your life, which stands for stress, hormone imbalances or hormone toxins like xenoestrogens, infections, and toxins. That's what SHIT stands for. When you look at that, that is your terrain, removing the blockers and adding more of the builders. This is focusing on the terrain. And I'm going to make a bold statement, and I've been saying it more, but I need to say it louder for the people in the back who are still taking GLPs, whether it's microdosed or macrodosed. If you are taking a GLP without focusing on removing the shit in your life, which is the image we're showing here, and adding in the builders in your life, which is the fast food diet that I just mentioned, and also incorporating peptides and also incorporating healthy supplements and replacing the things that you're low on and removing the things in your environment that are contributing to your toxic burden, then you should not be on a GLP. You should not be on a GLP. And the other thing I would say is that I've been saying over and over again, and I'll still keep saying it until I'm an echo chamber. If you are not walking 10,000 steps a day, if you are not exercising with healthy, body weight exercises, high intensity interval training, at least getting some resistance training with weights, you need to have weight bearing exercises. Even if that's just your body, you need to be making sure that you're drinking 2 to 3 liters of water a day. We produce 2 to 3 liters of saliva from our salivary glands. But you can't do that if you have congestion in your lymphatic system. We talk all about this in the Warrior Cleanse, how to remove blockages in your lymphatic ducts, because your lymph is doing the work that your bowels cannot, that your skin cannot. If you cannot excrete things from your bowels, from your skin, from your breath, from your hair, from your urine, then your body is going to store and mobilize those toxins in fat cells, in your lymphatic system, in your organs, in your bones, in your connective tissue, and you're going to wonder why you all of a sudden got autoimmune disease, cancer, diabetes, pain, connective tissue dysfunction, whatever it is that you're struggling with, and especially brain fog and the issues that most people are seeing with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, memory loss, mood dysregulation. Just look at America right now, United States, that is, protesting like crazy. People are going nuts. They're aggro. They might have schizophrenia-like symptoms. They're angry. They're victimized. They're depressed. They're anxious. All of that is toxins in the brain. 65% of your brain is fat. People are finding tumors all over their body, including in the brain. Just the other day, I found out a neighbor of mine, everything was fine. 2 months ago, he started feeling like he was numb in one side of his body. He couldn't walk. He started to not walk. He started to lose his gait. This came on all of a sudden, and they found a tumor in his brain. And yesterday he had brain surgery to remove it. But where are these tumors coming from? They're not just random. Excuse me. They're coming from toxic burden and your body not being able to mobilize and remove toxins from the body, and it gets stored in the fat. Take a drink of water here. MS is not genetic. Autoimmune disease is not genetic. Cancer is not just genetic. It's epigenetic, and this is happening to all of us. So we need to absolutely be focused on all of those things. The other things, if you're taking GLPs, you need to be cautious about this too. You must be consuming healthy amounts of protein and healthy amounts of fiber. I've been talking about this again I hate to keep saying this, but for 15 plus years, I've been talking about this as a personal trainer, yoga teacher, nutritionist, all of it. Healthy amounts of fiber every day, 35 grams of fiber. People are on average consuming less than 10. What does fiber do in the gut? Fiber helps you to feed healthy levels of microbes, short chain fatty acids, and prebiotics. All of these things are important to produce GLPs. When you have low levels of fiber, or you're not breaking down fiber well because you don't have healthy levels of microbes in your gut, you're not making GLPs as healthy as you should. And I'll also say that many people are not, when you're not moving, you're not digesting very well. So what we see commonly, and let's show this first screenshot, Paula, low levels of akkermansia. Akkermansia is the number 2 thing that helps you produce GLPs in the gut. And we're looking at our patient's lab analysis, and this is not something that your MD is going to look at. They don't look at these things. It's not important to them. They want you on a drug. They want you to have an organ removed. They want to sit and watch and wait until you get cancer. We're going to keep an eye on it. It's bullshit. That's not the one I'm talking about, Paula. There's another one that shows low levels of akkermansia. But there are many markers, and we'll keep looking at many different screenshots I prepared on my own lab. Low levels of akkermansia. And I'm the doctor that's talking about these things. So I'm not perfect. I'm not immune to these things. We see these things on everybody. We're all a product of our environment, and our environment we know is super toxic. And so we have to do our best to adapt, because our body can only adapt so long. And right now we're seeing maladaptation. We're seeing bodies that cannot keep track and keep pace with the environment. We are immune stress, not resilient. We don't have stress or immune resiliency. So as you can see, this is my own lab. This is 3 years ago, and it's improved since, because this is the first time I saw my levels of akkermansia. That means, see that one on the left there with the arrow, it says less than DL. That means my akkermansia level microbes were lower than the detectable limit. They're basically extinct, you guys. That's why I say, like, a lot of these healthy microbes are the dinosaurs in our gut. And it's like they say dinosaurs got killed off by a comet. Okay, well, let's just use that analogy and say that the comet is GMOs, vaccines, antibiotics, prescription drugs, seed oils, high levels of sugar, not exercising enough, the toxins they're spraying in the air, the toxins in our water, all of these things that people are not talking about in hospitals and that will never pay for in insurance. Well, I will say that a lot of people are using their HSAs and their FSAs to pay for the work that we do in the ministry. And therefore it's either tax exempt, or they use the expenses that they pay for the services that we offer as a tax deduction. So this is a great thing when we're working with the ministry. We always try to work with our patients, because HSA, FSA, technically people can use it to pay for supplements or lab testing that we offer, or peptides and things like that. But they're starting to change their ways. So anyway, I digress. They're not going to cover it under your insurance. None of these things. So when akkermansia is this low, you're not making GLPs from that bacteria. Akkermansia is extremely critical to produce GLPs in the gut. So you can stop this one, Paul. I want to talk about the next one. Let's look at our other patient's lab analysis that shows other pancreatic issues. One huge thing that we are seeing for patients who are taking GLPs incorrectly, and I'm going to talk about what that looks like over time, is pancreatic cancer. I don't want to scare you guys with this episode. I want to aware you so that you do GLPs differently and understand how you can get your body on your side to produce healthy levels of GLPs. It's not just something randomly from the outside. Again, your body makes them or not. So pancreatic elastase, it's an enzyme produced by the pancreas. It plays a vital role in protein digestion and serves as a non-invasive marker of exocrine pancreatic function. In the digestive tract, elastase is not broken down by other enzymes and is eventually excreted in the stool or not. Normal pancreatic function results in detectable levels of elastase in stool, while decreased levels indicate exocrine pancreatic insufficiencies. So EPI leads to insufficient production of digestive enzymes, causing malabsorption and symptoms such as steatorrhea, which is fatty stools. This is where a lot of people end up having their organ removed, aka the gallbladder. Weight loss, bloating, and abdominal discomfort. Low elastase levels are associated with conditions such as chronic pancreatitis, cystic fibrosis, diabetes, and pancreatic cancer. So this person had a higher level, but low elastase levels can lead to pancreatic cancer. The reason I'm bringing this up, and you could stop showing this image, Paula, is because people who are jumping on GLPs have never had a proper digestive analysis to look at these markers and to see if they're even a good candidate to take GLPs. Yes, they might be looking at blood testing to see, what their A1C levels look like, but that is not the end. That should not be the beginning and the end of why you should take a GLP. The first time that people started taking GLPs was because their doctor said, oh, you have diabetes and you have obesity and diabetes, and we'll put you on this GLP. Now GLPs are being offered to many people, even if they're thin, because they're talking about it being used for other issues like metabolic issues, metabolic chaos, high cholesterol, blood sugar dysregulation, insulin resistance. We can fix all of that with diet, you guys. We can fix all of that with the detox. We can fix all of that by addressing the infections. We can address that by looking at what levels of microbes that are extinct or low on your stool analysis. Now I'm going to share something else. A lot of people are taking GLPs way too long. They should be cycled on or off and pulsed for 8 weeks. Then you get off and you either switch to another GLP or you evaluate other things that can help your GLP production. Many people are taking them for 8 months. This is a VIP member that was on our call last week, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago. Time is weird. And she was like, I've been taking GLPs. I listened to a podcast that you were on, Dr. Kaiser, and I've been taking GLPs, and I'm starting to have these issues on my skin. We call that skin inflammation, skin infection. And somebody might think, oh, it may be because my dryer sheets, or maybe because I'm taking toxic beauty products or clean product, or I'm using fragrance products in my detergents. They start thinking about what did I put on my skin versus what is coming out of my skin from within. And I started asking her, how long have you been taking these GLPs for? And she said 8 months. I said, whoa. And her main complaint was that she was in the site of injection, she was having skin rashes. And she's like, why is that? There could be a lot of reasons why, you guys, but here's what I need to impress upon you. And you're not going to hear this from your MD, because they want you on these medications. They make a lot of money for them, but they don't make you a lot of health. They make a lot of them a lot of wealth, you not a lot of health. If you're not pulsing them on or off for 8 weeks at a time and switching them, maybe from retatrutide to tirzepatide to semaglutide or whatever, your body can and probably will start developing a histamine reaction to these exogenous GLPs. This is not good. What this could also mean is your body doesn't separate and go, oh, this is GLPs coming from the outside, GLPs made in the inside. It doesn't do that. It just goes GLP. It looks the same, which is why peptides work so well, because they're synthetic versions of exactly what our body produces, 8,000 peptides a day, right? Your body will eventually and possibly permanently start looking at your own made GLPs, if you're not doing GLPs exogenously right, and go, oh, foreign invader. Even when you get off of the GLPs, the synthetic external injected versions, long-term, your body could develop an immune system attack to your own GLPs. And you could develop an autoimmune disease, you could develop pancreatitis, pancreatic cancer, colon cancer, etc. Then your body might start going crazy, and it's a hammer and it's just looking at nails, and everything's a nail. Then it could start attacking your tissues. Then it could start attacking your immune system organs. Then it could start attacking your hair and your skin, and then you start losing your hair. Long-term use of GLPs or GLPs not used properly while addressing the terrain could mean you are signing up for a lifetime of autoimmune disease. This needs to be done right. This is not a shortcut. This is not just something you take on its own and nothing else. Because I'll keep going with this specific member. I said, what other things are you doing in addition to taking that GLP? Are you doing the warrior cleanse? Are you focusing on your terrain? Are you getting rid of the parasites? All of these, parasites release tons of histamines. If you have a lot of parasites in your body, which an overweight body has parasites, period, end of story. The body has to make recruit and grow more parasites so that they can mop up the mess that your body is not excreting. Over-fat body, an obese body, an overweight body is a toxic body, is a parasitic infected body. Are you starting to see the picture, you guys? The body needs more parasites to mop the mess, to clean up the toxins that you're not eliminating and that you're storing in fat or storing in the brain. Then you have brain fog, overweight. Then you look at your lab tests. I have high A1C. I have insulin resistance. I have high blood sugar. I have high cholesterol. I have autoimmune markers. I have high TSH. Whatever it is, it's a wildfire that is affecting 11 systems of your body, not just one, not just your metabolism, not just your insulin markers, not just A1C. We're looking at blood markers. We're looking at things that could also mean cardiovascular risk. Okay, so when your body then starts going and looking at hammers and knocking at nails, you could have multiple autoimmune diseases. So this specific patient she was a member, wasn't doing anything in the warrior cleanse. She wasn't focusing on terrain. Her body was mounting an immune system attack to exogenous peptides, taking retatrutide. I'm not knocking retatrutide, but I'm saying when you're doing this incorrectly, your body will start mounting an autoimmune attack to exogenous GLPs. I'm not saying will, it can. She also wasn't working with the doctor. She's not a patient of ours. So I'll go back to what I was saying earlier. You absolutely must be working with a doctor to supervise you when you're taking GLPs. You absolutely must be focusing on terrain, which is the builders and the blockers I talked about. You must be taking fiber, eating enough fiber, and not just taking fiber in supplement form. 35 grams a day. Fiber assists your body to make GLPs on your own so that when you get off GLPs one day, you're not going to be one of those people that gains weight 4 times faster than dieters alone. You also need healthy levels of Akkermansia. You also need healthy levels of bifidobacteria. You also need healthy levels of short-chain fatty acids. All of those things in the gut make healthy levels of GLPs. This is what we can detect on stool. This is what your MD will not look at. I'll also mention that I've said this before on podcasts that one doctor looked at a group, I think it was of 10 patients of hers, after they took the COVID shot. And what she found on their stool analysis is that shot wiped out their bifidobacteria. Their bifidobacteria was gone. It was extinct. None. Just like with the lab test I showed you, lower levels of detectable limit of my own Akkermansia. They had no bifidobacteria. Why am I bringing this up? Because bifidobacteria is extremely responsible in a lot of things, but 2 main things. A, making your healthy levels of endogenous GLPs, cell signaling peptides in your gut. Number 2, bifidobacteria is super important for your healthy immune system. It's a healthy microbe in your gut that is responsible for regulating your immune system. That's 80% of the microbes that your body has made by the time you're 2 years old. And she looked at those labs and those patients had no bifidobacteria. So one thing we look at when we're talking to patients is before we jump you on a GLP, we look at, there's GLP probiotics that we put our patients on and we recommend to them. There's one that's called GLP Probiotic Pro. It has healthy levels, 500 million. This is not a commercial, by the way, but this is something we'll talk about in the VIP group today and always. And if you're a patient, we'll look at all these things to customize. How can we help you make your own GLP so that you don't have the possible permanent damage from GLPs on the outside when you're doing it incorrectly? We don't want that. When GLPs are done exogenously and they're done right, you probably are not going to have the effects I'm talking about today. But Clostridium, Akkermansia, and Bifido. Those are 3 super, super important probiotic species to help you when you have these microbes in your gut make your own GLPs. And then we look at short chain fatty acids. These are things that I can also say they're almost extinct on the majority of our patients' lab analysis and their stool tests. And we see all of this. Show me a person that is overweight. Show me a person whose metabolic health is extremely unhealthy. Show me a person that is obese and will be told by Oprah Winfrey that it's because they have an obesity gene. Bullshit. Stop following these psycho pedophiles that are in the Epstein files. Can you see it now, you guys? They don't care about you. They care about their profits. They care about their wealth and not your health, and they never will, and they never have. Who are you listening to? That's the other thing. The parasites on the outside are programming you to believe these things on the inside. So what is the metabolic waste? Well, it's also coming from people you listen to and trust. And if you're still trusting your medical doctor, you're probably going down the wrong path. That's all I'm going to say. I work with MDs. I love the MDs that I work with because they've mostly woken up from the programming that tells them that, well, you got some tumor markers, which we look at on lab analysis. You get just tumor markers, but, we don't see, based on the MRI, we don't see any, significant, tumors to cut out, but we'll just keep an eye on it. Tumor markers are a sign, just like the sign on your dash that says low gasoline, to tell you to go get some gas at the gas station. When we see tumor markers, we're like, whoa, that's a sign that you're moving toward, your body's making tumors that could lead to MS in a 2-month time period. But typically when you get tumors, it's been 10, 15 years. Typically when you get an autoimmune disease, it's been developing and brewing for 10 to 15 years. So I'm not going to sit here and say we have a crystal ball, but I'm going to tell you we have a crystal ball. The crystal ball is the approach that we see on these lab tests that tell you what direction you're headed based on these markers that we can see in your labs. Let's look at one more, Paula. The one that shows significant autoimmune disease. This is a patient that we just looked at this morning. And this patient has been struggling for a long time with a lot of metabolic issues. And this specific patient was never told that she had autoimmune disease. This patient has a seriously, it's not faulty because none of our parts are faulty. They only become faulty, they become obsolete, and they're moving towards zero function when they're being attacked by the shit in their life, the stress, the hormone imbalances and toxins, the infections and toxicity, the EMFs, the radiation, the 6G, the 5G, all of it. This specific patient came to us, and I want to show you something that's critical here. Her anti-ATPO, her anti-TG, thyroid producing, these are antibodies. These two were so high, I can't diagnose, we can't diagnose, but a medical doctor would look at this and they would say, this person has Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition of the thyroid. This is not genetic, this is epigenetic. I don't care what genes you have. If a person is exposed to enough toxins, the immune system is going to get confused and attack the thyroid gland because it's called molecular mimicry. Mercury, aluminum, which aluminum is sprayed, the #1 toxin that is sprayed that I've done work with geoengineeringwatch.org, which is Dane Wigington's work, to reveal that aluminum is being sprayed at extremely high levels in these lines in the sky. Aluminum is one of that and fluoride are two of the most significant toxins that look like the thyroid gland, where the immune system goes and attacks the thyroid gland because it thinks it's the bad guy. Aluminum is the bad guy, but molecular mimicry says that plus fluoride look just like the thyroid gland. So it ends up, and these toxins have an affinity for the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland not working well leads to metabolic chaos, dysfunction, weight loss, weight gain, obesity, etc. That is what Oprah Winfrey should be telling you. Not that you have an obesity gene. No, we have a toxic sky. We have toxic air. We have toxic food. We have toxic people like her who are spitting lies. That is deactivating your own desire and intuition and instinct to go figure out the why do I have low levels of GLP? Why is it helping to take it from the outside? The other thing is here, you guys too. Pathogens, specific blastocystic hominis is a parasite that has an affinity to lay their eggs and grow their babies and all their life cycles in the thyroid gland, right around the thyroid gland. Oh, you have a tumor on your thyroid. We're going to remove, no, they don't say let's remove the tumor. They say we're going to remove the tumor and sometimes the entire thyroid. When these things go unaddressed for so long, your doctor will end up saying, we're going to remove your whole thyroid gland. Why would they do that? Because that tumor could have been growing for decades on your thyroid gland and it never was looked at. Why wasn't it looked at? Because the doctors don't look at antibodies to your thyroid until they see high levels of TSH. They look for TSH, 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 TSH. 98% of the reason why your TSH is out of range or high is because you have antibodies to your thyroid. But that's not the first thing to look at. It's the last thing to look at. And by then, it might be too late. Can we get rid of the tumors on your thyroid? Possibly by getting rid of the parasites that are building them. They're making the cysts. They're making the cancers. They're making the tumors. So all of this is why we need to look at terrain, because this person specifically here, she has extremely high levels of thyroid markers. And her urgent priority now is not just addressing and taking a thyroid drug like Synthroid. That's what a doctor's going to put her on. She's not thyroid deficient. She's not Synthroid deficient. The root causes are the infections and the toxins that I just mentioned. By the way, Blastocystis accuminus is very unlikely to show up on a stool test. Stool test, if a doctor goes, oh, we looked at the stool test, there's no parasites. They're so smart that they can break themselves and their body parts down so that they're undetectable on stool analysis. That's why we look at assessments when we're looking at patterns next to lab analysis. We don't just treat the patient's labs. We look at the patient, the assessment of the symptom trends. The higher the score that you have of symptom trends, the higher the likelihood that you have parasites that are very unlikely to be detected on a stool analysis. So I've seen this often where sometimes we do see them on stool analysis and oftentimes we don't. This patient is not only struggling with thyroid issues, this patient is struggling with severe heart issues and cardiovascular risk patterns. She had high cholesterol, very high LDL. Not all cholesterol is bad, but she had high triglycerides. When you have high triglycerides, that means your liver is failing. And when your body's toxic, your liver is overworking. When you are put onto or start taking any kind of peptide in GLP form, it's asking the body to start dumping toxins faster than your body and your liver has the capability of clearing. So then when we see high levels of triglycerides, we have to support the liver first. We don't want to just throw that person on a GLP. We got to support the terrain. We got to support the organs. We have to optimize all of this. She also had a really high level of cholesterol to LDL ratio, which is extremely high risk for heart disease. So when you're overweight, you have a higher risk of heart disease. And what all of this means for this specific patient is her thyroid's under stress. Her immune attack is ongoing. Her metabolism is being suppressed. This could lead to weight gain, high cholesterol, fatigue, and constipation. But if you're taking GLPs exogenously, too high levels for too long without addressing the terrain and not exercising and not drinking healthy levels of water, not looking at the cleanliness of your water or not drinking distilled water, not having air filtration in your home, GLPs are the wrong answer. We've got to support the terrain first. This is why I take a conservative approach before I recommend anybody to consider a GLP. That's it for today, you guys. I know I went ranting on this one, but you got to hear this stuff. And sometimes when I talk louder, you can hear me more. I'm talking louder for the people on the back or the people who are out there cleaning and are somewhere in another room that need to hear this message. So you guys, GLPs should not be something that's extinct in your body. Our first question needs to be not which GLP should I take, but why are my microbes low in the first place, and why did I stop making my own? I'll say one more thing. Why are these microbes dying? Because you might be thinking, oh, I didn't take the shot, so I probably have healthy levels of GLP. I'm sorry, healthy levels of microbes like bifido that make GLP in the gut. Nope. Cipro is the number one most prescribed antibiotic in America and also in Mexico. And Cipro is a broad spectrum antibiotic. They make the most money on prescribing it for you. But if you look at the black box warning, the number one side effect of it is Achilles tendon rupture. I went to go see my Chinese doctor yesterday. She's an acupuncturist. She said in a very short time period, she had 4 patients she was working with. All of them, their Achilles tendon was ruptured. And all of them had taken Cipro within 1 year prior. This is not just about your Achilles, you guys. That's a tendon. There's tendons that connect your bones and organs and a lot of things in your body, all over your body. So tendonitis, issues with your joints, you have to ask the question, why? Cipro is an antibiotic. If you've taken that now or in the past, if you are consuming non-organic foods, which if you're eating out, you are, and you're eating seed oils, which also is one of the blocking factors that reduces your own GLP production. Here you go. Thank you, Paula. FDA requires stronger black box warning for antibiotics. This was back in 2016. This was 10 years ago. But even with this warning, what did they do about it? Nothing. These are called fluoroquinolones. Look at this. Serious side effects. They generally outweigh the benefits for patients with sinusitis, bronchitis, uncomplicated urinary tract infections. This is such a prevalent thing these days too. For patients with these conditions, fluoroquinolones should be reserved for those who do not have alternative treatment options. What does that even mean? Doctors are not taught that. So they're going to recommend that to you. They're going to prescribe that to you. My recommendation is to consider the next time you're sick, don't just go running to your MD. Although I have to say, you have to talk to this doctor within you. Then talk to the doctor that is me and our team that looks at all of the reasons why you are sick to begin with. You are not toxic, or you're not sick, you're toxic. I got a cough that's still lingering from last week where I was fine. I walked outside to walk my dog, came back in, and I felt the cold brewing, the sinusitis, the bronchitis, all of these symptoms where I started getting sick. My throat was getting inflamed, sore. I got toxic. It was coming from the sky, coming from the air. So when we're saying things like Chicken Little says, oh, the sky is falling. Yeah, no, it is. Sky is falling with toxins and it's ending up in you. So whatever you are not filtering in your water, whatever you're not filtering in your air, your body has to filter out. So this is why we have to look at the entire environment. And I'm so excited for those Root Cause Reset members who have signed up with us. There's 18 of you. We might do them another one again if there's high enough demand. We are teaching you guys all of this in the Root Cause Reset, which starts tomorrow. Everybody in there is going to be running their own labs. We're going to show you guys in 3 different urinary analysis what is in your urine as far as what your body's excreting in toxins and where it's coming from your environment. Please stop cleansing by itself and doing them over and over again and addressing and doing parasite cleanses over and over again without asking the question and addressing where are they coming from, which is your environment. You have to cleanse your body and your environment at the same time if you want these cleanses to stick. And the more you're treating the terrain, the better your peptides are going to work. So I think this is enough PSA for now. What do you think, Paula, on GLPs? I could go even deeper and deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole, but everything I've been talking about on why you should be looking at GLPs alongside strengthening your immune system, looking at the reasons why you have metabolic issues to begin with, and addressing the deficiencies in your life with respect to movement, 10,000 steps, working out 3 to 4 times a day, making sure you're focusing on drainage and detox and biohacking your life so that you're doing things in your environment like castor oil packs and coffee enemas and saunas. Saunas are a game changer, and distillation for your water and filters on your shower and doing air cleanses where you have like something like the Air Doctor Pro. All of these things are on dianekaiser.com/shop as solutions. If you want to ask me anything on this, me and my team will be on the other side, dianekaiser.com/VIP. You can join for $1. We'll see you on the other side. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for listening to my rant and coming from my TED Talk today. That's it. So no shame for any of you who've taken any of these things. You guys, by the way, I got injured. My Achilles tendon got ruptured when I took fluoroquinolones. I took Cipro. And if you're that person, someone should give you a PSA and give you the informed consent that things like ibuprofen, those are fluoroquinolones. There's a lot of fluoroquinolones that you should avoid after that. If you've had some sort of a side effect or injury or tendon rupture from taking and after taking Cipro. So we got to be asking better questions. And the question for now is, why am I low on GLPs? Why am I not making enough? How do I fix my body without just taking another drug? I hope you guys hear this. I hope it lands, and I'll see you on the other side, and I'll see you guys next week on the Cleanse Heal Ignite podcast. Bye for now.